Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic, and welcome to this deep woo-woo episode entitled Simulated Reality with Solreta. Of course, you can find her work at solreta.com and also on YouTube at Solreta Ontario. Let's give her a big warm welcome back to the show. Solreta, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this show today. I woke up just literally thinking about simulated reality and quantum theory, and I've had to actually, I just work in the moment, how that's just how I work. I had to actually write things down that they were telling me. Just Spirit is so excited. I'm so excited too. And there's just like other random things that they're throwing in the field. Because I think I texted you yesterday. I'm like, there's a lot of quantum theory and kind of like quantum field stuff that they want to talk about in relation to simulated reality. So if you love physics and you love to geek out on this stuff like JC and I think you're really going to enjoy today's show. So thank you everyone for joining us too.
Awesome. And we were trying to set up, folks, a simultaneous broadcast here just before the show, but we had a little glitch. So we promised that the next episode with Solreta, we will be simulcasting between here, BeyondMystic, and the Solreta Ontario YouTube channel. That will be for next time. So keep your eyes peeled out for that. So welcome everyone to this live interactive show. Thank you so much for joining us this beautiful Friday night. And like Solreta said, there's a lot going on right now. Of course, last week, maybe kicking off some of the really weird woo was this 22 mummy parade in Egypt. And a lot of psychics were tuning into that to say, hey, there's something else happening here just below the surface. And of course, today we see the prince who has now moved off the Earth's plane. And at the same time, in Egypt now, there was an article earlier today that there was this 3,000-year-old city just found. So there's a lot going on. And on top of that, of course, our friend, the rapper DMX, passed away today under what appears now to be unusual circumstances as far as the family is concerned. So the original story was that it was an overdose, and now apparently it could be as a result of that thing that, you tap on your shoulder. So a lot there going on for you folks tonight. So Solreta, you're taking a lot of notes. I'm excited about this. Like now we're really, really serious tonight. Where do you want to start? How do you want to get this show cracking?
Look, this stuff, this conversation for the show started happening with guides and everything Easter. So for me, this has been going around for probably about a week now. And I just started to have what I feel was experiences in, I guess, thought field, quantum field, whatever you want to call it. But I think what happens is it does really, talking about simulated reality. And I see that as, maybe that's a program or that's something that's rolled out. Right. But then we still have quantum field and we still have our own consciousness and we still have programs that operate from our own, subconscious mind and our own screen recorded experiences from 0 to 7, which is kind of our preset in how this avatar gets around in the world and what our limitations are. So when we understand, quantum field a little bit more in relation to our own individual self and our own individual journey, when we can look where our limitations are, because if we're going, out in this reality and we've been programmed to a certain level of acceptance or we've been programmed to a certain level of limitation with, what we think is available to us. So say, for example, you're programmed with negative emotions and things in, like not being lovable or not being good enough or, that you're dumb or things like that. They're all negative influenced programming. So you're going to be limited in what you actually can get out of the experience of living on this earth life. So it's really important to deprogram any negative or old subconscious beliefs that don't support a new quantum reality that you're wanting to step into. So we really can't change or create a new life for us with the same level of thinking of which it was created, that old saying. And it's actually true at a quantum level. We need to deprogram, declutter, in order to get into a new energetic space, in order to attract new energetic quantum options. And the same is also said for, when we've had an experience or even, hello. And I've seen a few beautiful messages popping up from some of the viewers as well. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you for all your beautiful messages and kindness. So what I was looking at was, I guess, some of my own limitations, but also, some of the so-called superpowers too, and looking at how they work for and against. And also, even I think it was before we did the last show, my son, wanted to watch The Matrix. So we watched the Matrix again, which, it's so different looking at it now, 20 years later or 25 years later, however long it's been. But what I was really wanting to do was change my own quantum reality and just looking at like what I have available. And it's something that I've worked on pretty much since I was about 15, having been heavily involved in kinesiology for a long time and looking at deleting old subconscious beliefs and old subconscious programmings, and, having worked with neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis and things. These are all things that can change your subconscious, which therefore affects your experience, your reality of the world. Now, the other thing that the guides were showing me to talk about, and just downloads I was getting, was sometimes we get a sense or we get like a ripple. So how you did the video with DMX and then unfortunately he passed. Right. Maybe there was something that you were picking up on in that field, that quantum field.
I want to bring that up, actually. As you were just saying, I'm like, I have to bring this into context in real life because it's happening to me. This started out, just so you know, let me bring up the tweet from earlier today. But my idea to do this originally was a tribute video to the Grandmaster Wu, Cliff High himself, because in one of our crypto roundtable on my birthday, so on the equinox on March 20th, Crypto Blood had mentioned that when he had interviewed Cliff High way back when, he had asked him, hey, Cliff, who's your favorite rapper? And Cliff had said DMX. And I was like, DMX? Really? Cliff High likes DMX. Anyways, and the next day I started this idea, I have to do this video montage on a DMX song and to bring all of this crypto, this Wu gang together with all of our messages. Of course, we're all fighting the same fight. We're all the truthers on this community. And so I had been uploading all of these various versions since March because I have a lot of contributors. Everybody was sending me some B-roll of them dancing and spoofing to the music. And so anyways, I was finally ready to put it out. And of course, I got the news here today. And as I was talking to Jenny Moonstone, she was like, dude, there's way more happening here than you know. So we're all connected. Of course, somehow I was cued in by universe feeling those little vibrations. And I'm like, I picked up on a message train here. And what's funny, of course, in that video, we're being facetious and we're telling everybody, don't worry, the banks are safe. You can keep your money there. The government never lies to you. No. The jab is safe, right? And of course, now we have some of this news that's coming out today. So quite fascinating, guys. If you haven't seen that, first of all, it's really, really funny. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy that. I'll bring the link in the description box. But what are your thoughts on all of this in terms of how all of that maybe has connected, Solreta?
Yeah, so that's where I want to step into talking about quantum entanglement. And they asked me to pick one card to represent, and I've just picked it. I can't wait to watch this, JC. I love your mashups and your funny videos. My favorite is the James Bond one with you and Sarah. I think that's still my all-time favorite. But this is the card that I picked to represent, not only simulated reality, quantum reality. So we've got this person that's kind of, stuck in a way. They're pinned, they're hanging upside down. But in order to get out of this is really about like stepping into expanded reality. It's looking at it from it being flipped on the head. So all I'm asking people to ponder on today, because that's really what they're guiding me to do, is just to look at your life as we talk about this and ponder on how you might be experiencing, whether it's like different things happening in the quantum field. One thing you'll probably notice when we talk about quantum entanglement, especially if we put it out there to do with like relationships or connections with people. So I'll go by living example because I think that's probably one of the easiest ways to teach. So for example, there was a dream that I had over Easter, and it was someone I hadn't dreamt about in a long time. Or it was to do with like a family of someone I hadn't dreamt about to do with in a long time. It was weird. Even in the dream space, I was like, this is so strange. Like, why am I dreaming about these people? And I'm still watching the dream, but there's almost like a commentary coming from the other parts of the subconscious mind while I'm watching this dream take place. Anyway, so I wake up to a text message from the person connected to these people in the morning of the dream. And to me, I just heard Spirit go, this is quantum entanglement. Mm-hmm. So what was because that was very foreign to the dream that these people were in there. But what it was this person had been thinking about me, and I picked up on it in that quantum field. And so therefore we had that quantum entanglement. So when you want to let go of things, it's really important to look at how can I like loosen the grip on this quantum entanglement? So, you know, like when you have two souls connected and perhaps you're wanting to get some distance, how can you create that distance? How can you untangle yourself in some of these connections? And it can be simple things from, you know, like they talk about blocking phone numbers or blocking messages, different things like that. Now, in this case, I don't have to do, you know, things like that, but I'm just talking about like as an example. And the other thing too is it shows that there's still some synchronistic, harmonious vibration going on between the two souls and between the two energies. There's some dialogue happening in quantum field. So this is the same for if you're focused on someone. You know, sometimes they might be getting blips in their quantum field, or they might go, all of a sudden, it's really weird, I just thought of you out of nowhere. So you'll get that kind of, you know, message coming. So it's really important when we're looking forward to creating the future that we also need to look at what we're putting out into the field. So this is where it's good to guard your mind, guard your emotions, get into meditative state and start calling in for, start creating, start setting up what it is that you want to manifest in this quantum field. And if you're not manifesting it, or if you're sort of getting to the same level every time you're hitting that wall, something in the programming from the past needs to change. You need to take out the old subconscious programs, possibly from even before you were born, whether it's past life stuff like we work with in the readings I do, whether it's, you know, things from early childhood, whether it's things from our parents or peers around us at the time. Is it one of their subconscious beliefs that we've taken on, but it's not necessarily ours? So when we can go into the subconscious mind, plant these new seeds, these new experiences, download jujitsu, just like Neo in Matrix, we then have a new subset of skills that we can use to create and manifest this future reality. So if there's something that you're hitting a wall with, what is it that you can program into this avatar, into this subconscious mind in order to manifest this? So say if you're wanting to up your game in regards to business, looking at like who you surround yourself with. And I know that people say that you're most like the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So, you know, looking at your circle around, looking at what can you do to, you know, to up your game essentially. So that's one way that they wanted to talk about different things.
Wow. What you just said there too, like I'm getting shivers because yesterday, Friday, a Sifu from my dojo reached out to me. Her name is Christine, and she says, JC, I have this woman who's one of our clients here, and she's going through this huge transformation, and she really needs some help untangle from a lot of these programs, for lack of better words. And the conversation you just, or the comments you just made now, seems to me that like you were talking to me and this person. So we came together yesterday just on chat very late last night. And since my friend had connected us all throughout the day, I had this person literally screaming at me, and I was trying to do my work, but I kept getting these flashes, these downloads, and we were supposed to set up a meeting maybe at a coffee shop next week. But by the end of the night last night, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Let's just chat on because I need to get this out because I won't sleep. It's just, you know, too furious. So let me ask you, what would you say to this person? I don't know if you want to just talk about it or maybe pull a card. And I don't want to say that person's name too. It's a lot of private stuff, and she's going through a hell of a change. But what can you tell her about? One of the things that came through the conversation was these quantum entanglements with past relationships. And these lines or filaments are still very much drawing from her energy source and preventing her now to come into her own, even though she's being forced by universe to make big changes and to empower herself right now. And so she kind of sees now this web of entanglements. And so maybe here, right, can we talk about that a little bit here for her? And I'll share the video after we go.
So the way that Spirit was showing it to me the last couple of days is someone that's kind of bound by wool. So imagine, you know, a big ball of string or a big ball of wool, and they're kind of bound up. And what happens is every now and then, if someone's, you know, pulling at your energy or thinking about you or perhaps like sending you a message, trying to tap at one of these little strings, you'll feel like a pull or you feel a tug on it, but it doesn't mean that we have to answer it. So if it is, for her, like, past lovers wanting to come in, communicate, or try and pull on those strings to pull her back into their life, whether it's on just a message level or whether it's, and that's where you need to look at who's pulling the strings, whether they have narcissistic tendencies. I was feeling it. Things like that. You need to look, is it a healthy string? Mm-hmm. And there is different cord cuttings that you can do, different detachments for the strings, different positive like reinforcement that you can do as well. But when we really look at it and we think about it in a very visual or visceral sense of, closing our eyes, meditating, thinking about this string and how we interact in the world, it changes it. It right. makes it something from just a, conceptual thought into something very energetically understandable. So what I visualize sometimes is a mirror. So whenever someone's sort of projecting energy or, wanting to perhaps tug at my strings, I can put a mirror up, and then it's sort of almost energetically getting them to look at their own stuff. Because sometimes those that are wanting to draw energy from those that are working in the light, if it is like a darker character, like a darker narcissistic character, and they're wanting to siphon energy, so they're wanting to pull on the strings because they want some of that life force, or they want some of that food source in a way, you can put the mirror up. So it'll either be reflected, that behavior, and they'll hit a mirror and realize it. Quite often not the case when it's something very deep like that going on. But it might also deflect them, and they might then go look elsewhere for that food source.
Okay. And what about those, you mentioned the narcissist, and in one of my interviews with Elisa Herrera, she was talking about how some archonic forces go through narcissists around the planet to really extract energy or to lock down in some cases. And I believe this is probably closer to reality with the person I'm talking with here. Again, because she's very much... how do I say all of this? She's very much connected to, if you want to call it, the Temple of Isis and some of those ancient archetypes. And right now, what I got from the conversation yesterday and through her validation through of some of the downloads, she's being suppressed to not come into that power. And of course, with this mummies parade last week, there was a lot to have to do there with the rising of the divine feminine. So this energy is pushing her to reclaim that power, yet she's still very much captured by some of these entanglements. So for the regular entanglement, I think what you just said is good, but in her case, there might be a little bit more in terms of a harder reboot there, because this is by design rather by then just regular happenstance. Can we touch on that a little bit and see what you can offer?
That's when it's really important to step outside just your own skill set and outside and have someone that is either shamanically assisting you to break these bonds, because it's a bond. When we look at quantum, if it's quantum entanglement, we're stuck within the confines of something, or we're not able to create that shift and change. I just heard Spirit say something. I'm just Googling the word because I'm like, I've heard the word. I've just got to have a look at what this means in connection to this. Sorry.
That's okay. While you do that, let me thank some of our PayPal tip jar donators for this evening.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Holt, Tuan Huyn. I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. Thank you so much. And Bernard Schreibert, you guys were tipping just before the show here, so thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And while you're here, please do remember to like, share, and subscribe on our new YouTube backup channel. We are at 27,700 strong and growing, and I'm really encouraged by this beautiful community that we're building and all of this cross-pollination that we're doing with other YouTubers in terms of trying to share the truth and these higher learnings with everyone, because this is the time and this year is a big year of change. So I'm really, really appreciative of all of you here in the live chat supporting me, and of course also through the PayPal tip jar and on Patreon. You guys are the best, and you make it possible for us, Solreta and I, to be out here doing this work. So thank you so much, everyone. Did you find your word?
I did. And I'm sorry, but Spirit was just, they were saying it so loud. They've been saying it since I literally woke up this morning. And I'm like, okay. It was to the point where it was so loud, I'm like, I have to look it up. But yeah, I don't want to distract from what we were talking about, but definitely go check out like quantum hypnotherapy. So on my YouTube channel, I interviewed Russell Price, my really good friend Russ from college, who is also a quantum hypnotherapist. And this is, someone that you can go see to help with releasing some of these quantum entanglements. There's gorgeous Russ. And yeah, there's
quantum. You just said hi at the same time. Can you imagine? Great timing.
That was good timing.
You must be psychic.
And so quantum hypnotherapy has originated from Dolores Cannon, the famous hypnotherapist who worked with a lot of ET and UFO abduction cases. But it really is working with connecting with the higher self of the person to get that information or the downloads. So, it's. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. So getting back to the word that Spirit's been dropping into my head since the moment I wake up is adenosine triphosphate. Like, it's a really weird random word, and they were just saying it over and over and over again. So this is connected to our cells. So our cells produce an energy, which is ATP. And what that is sort of like an output. Now, this is also connected to, I'll just read this little bit that they've drawn me to. So it says that the nuclear base adenine is part of adenosine, a molecule that is formed from ATP and put directly into the RNA. So we know that, to do with we'll just do this again, to do with that it's working with manipulating DNA and RNA. So the other nuclear bases in RNA, cysteine, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, glutamine and uracil are similarly formed from CTP. I'll just get through the jargon. So adenine is also found in DNA. It's to incorporate very similar, except ATP into converted to a form of dinoxidisine triphosphate before becoming part of a DNA strand. So what they're really talking about and why they're bringing up adenosine triphosphate, starts with an A, by the way. There it is. So what they're really trying to talk about is looking at it from a quantum or a holographic level. So this being the biocomputer, we need to really look at what we're electrically powering ourselves with. So we power ourselves with food. So fruit being the highest electrical conductor, and superfoods to grab that biggest amount of electricity possible, to charge that cell, to have healthy cellular communication. So this is essentially what drives us on a physical level, helps that conversion. And when we eat healthy foods, we therefore have healthier DNA and we have healthier epigenetics as well. And we're less likely to be manipulated or to have things come in and manipulate our physical body. So they're really getting it to us to look at it from a physical level up. So looking at also how our thoughts and our mindset can influence this too. Right. So I just had to mention it because now they're quiet with that side of things.
I love it. You follow guidance. I'm the same. And when I don't is when I usually get in trouble. So, right. It's always the case when you get that. Yeah. When you get the loud voices, you need to pay attention. There's a reason.
I know. It's like a little song going on in the background. Right. Adenosine triphosphate. And I guess if we look at, the TRI, TRI, it represents that tri-union, it represents that, structure of three. So it's it would probably be a type of phosphate that's like a 3 molecule part, I would say. So I didn't see that picture too quickly, but I would say it'd be very interesting to look at, deeper into that. But that's just something that they were talking about.
I just changed a little picture above me, and I've put that little triune suntan there. So we're being guided here for some reason to talk about this triune. I've got quite a few shows coming on the topic also of the triune human and how we are way more than we think we are. And of course, this is all the knowledge base that we're being guided to start sharing with humanity at this point. And a lot of it is still behind closed doors and from a lot of these secret societies. But I think a lot of us are just starting to remember now. So thank you, Solreta, for following your guidance and to bring that up. And perhaps this is a cue to us to start channeling and scheduling the next shows on some of these topics.
Yeah, there's more that they're showing me connected to do with it. So they're talking about if we look within the body at a cellular level, they keep showing me this flame that bursts forward on a cellular So if we look within inside the cells, we can actually turn on these little flames. So if we're working with that ATP, that cellular energy, we can actually not only burn away stuff that's in the quantum field that we no longer desire to have. So whether this is in a meditation, they're just showing me it's actually to go in and look at yourself as a quantum being, or look at yourself almost like a hologram in a way, and to look at it as all of the body being pared down into little electrons and into little cells. And if we can visualize our energy, and they're saying the word signal. So if we're broadcasting a signal and all of this energy is going towards it, we're going to be more likely to pull things closer towards us that we want to do with quantum entanglement. So we want to become quantumly entangled with the beautiful things, with the good things that we want to manifest. So say if it's manifesting love, we want to become quantumly entangled with the idea of, being with a soulmate, being with twin flame energy. We want to become quantumly entangled with the idea of, success in business, or beautiful friendships and beautiful family. Now, if our negative mindset's broadcasting and circling out, and our energy is going towards other things like lack, or, telling us a program of what already exists, we're going to be torn in two different directions for what it is that we wish to manifest. So we need to clean this slate on a very, emotional level, physical level, spiritual level. Starting it up with the base of a good diet and great cellular energy is going to be more likely in order to influence the quantum field in a positive way.
I think part of what you're trying to say, and it's just hitting me as well, we're talking about depolluting maybe our energy source and supply. And if you take it from the Taoist perspective and the microcosmic orbit, there might be something that humans are tapping into now, because all of us have been polluted in so many ways here in physicality, but also from the astral realms. And this is part of that matrix of control and the system of siphoning off our energy. So I'm gonna watch this again and really listen to your words here at the beginning of the show, and I'm gonna open up a few books and see where that's pointing to. That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
And is there more in your notes that you want to go through?
Yeah, there is. Look at this, because just hearing that word, like adenosine triphosphate, and you know that I'm dyslexic, so I very dyslexically spelt it with an I. Underneath, I've put renoic acid, DNA, RNA. That was something else that I heard. And then when we looked up the adenosine triphosphate, it starts talking about the RNA. So they're definitely onto something in that little section that I just Googled before.
Is it possible that part of this push around the planet for this experimental thing that we won't name, is it possible that it's an inoculation against maybe this re-empowerment of the human energy source, or the depollution of the human energy source?
The sad thing is that that's exactly where this goes. Right. It actually manipulates and gets in, I think, to the RNA to manipulate our DNA. That's exactly where this thing gets in. So it's really interesting that they're going to more, the powerhouse level of the cell. This is something I open a couple of books up and look into as well, but they were literally just giving it to me to kind of touch.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. They're just giving these words to me. So I'm finding this out as you guys are finding this out. Right. So it's something that I'm going to geek out on later, because I'm actually writing a psychic course at the moment with a friend. And one of our areas that I've been stuck on is I'm looking at the doctrine of signatures, and I'm also writing a little bit on, holographic reality and different things like this. So I'm like, finally be able to finish that module today. Now with all this download of information, I'm like, that's why I couldn't do it, because I needed to chat to JC and, our beautiful audience here to finish that component.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to help. It's all about sharing. I love it. What I was just saying about the parasite cleansing show I did yesterday, Jenny was saying too that she believed that this experimental thing was also to suppress an upgrade that's coming in our eyesight, where we would see maybe partially more into the fourth dimension and possibly be able to see and identify some of these parasites. And of course, you can't protect yourself when you don't know what's around you. And so she was thinking that this was also something to kind of stop that upgrade where we could peer into that dimension. And
it's definitely happening.
right.
Yeah. So even, I mean, you and I were talking about this back, when was it, a year ago, or even before a year ago, we were talking about, blue flame energy manifesting and to do with anchoring this ascension energy and the veils becoming thinner. And I know myself, like I'm just, that's still energy that I see. It's still being anchored. It's not a process that was just the amazing portal open up over Uluru. It's something that we're still anchoring. But I mean, that was definitely the big portal, the gateway opening with the ceremony that happened with Stephen and Evan Strong.
Right.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Like the veil is very thin. Even I was just chatting with a friend the other night, and just even in the room, there was a lot of blue flame energy being anchored. There was different beings just popping up. I mean, that's stuff that I see normally, but I've noticed that there's others that are starting to see these type of things too. Yeah, there's that blue flame. Mm-hmm. So if you're seeing anything, like that color, sometimes you'll see it out in nature. Sometimes you'll see it around people. You'll see it, when you're around friends. It's a lot to do with being in the heart space. Mm-hmm. And what I'm also seeing too, and they're saying the word, I'm going to write this down for later. They're referencing to do with like what we're talking about today, looking at things on a cellular level. They're really looking at our cellular availability. We're looking into, I guess it's connected with the God particle too. And is this what that is trying to disrupt? Is it the God particle? And that's what I feel. Yeah.
And look at this comment from the screen. Adam Thompson says, of course, Rudolf Steiner said that we would in the future be able to inoculate ourselves from our soul. Right, exactly. Making us towards the transhumanism agenda as opposed to the angelic version of ourselves that we can actually be. So, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people are waking up to them actually being that angelic version of self. Mm-hmm. So when we look throughout our history and we're programmed and told that, that we're a parasite on the planet, that we only use 7 to 10% of our brain power, that we're unintelligent, and it's just, there's so many lies. I feel that I just feel we need to start from scratch in our own thought creation and reality and open ourselves up to our full potential. And I think that's why they're getting into the cellular side of things and really meditating on what does it mean to hold the God particle within you. And they keep showing me an antenna. This is like being an antenna to receive these higher frequencies coming in, to transmit this to other people. And if you're taking that out into the community, and then other people are picking up on this beacon of light, this frequency, it's going to send a ripple effect out into the quantum field. But if you're getting things done and perhaps shutting your system down or detaching from the soul, as some people have described there. So I did read a really interesting comment from a nurse whose husband had the shots, and she was an intuitive nurse who works on, more on a psychic level and different things. And she said that it was almost like there's a detachment that's taken place from the soul level, like no one's home. Right. So I've heard a couple of people say that with some people that have been affected by different things, which is really sad if that's true. Yeah,
it's very sad. Man, we can make a whole show on that, but of course, if we do, we'll lose this channel again.
So yeah, we're being very careful.
Yeah, we have to say the things we can say without saying them, and I hope the audience was following along. At this point, I think all the audience is following along. I think a couple of months ago when I was trying to attempt this, even with Carrie Cassidy back in December, nobody was really used to the coded language, and everybody's like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
We're going to have to learn sign language soon.
Right, exactly. But so many YouTubers got the axe here included, and of course now the audience is attuned to this new coded language here to talk about these subjects.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just saw is it Glass Effects is calling you a YouTube stud.
What's that? Oh, Glass. He was in the chat. Was it last night? I saw him in the chat last night too. Yeah. You know what? I think Glass Effects was one of my first recognizable audience members here, like when I first started the channel. He's been around since the beginning and always supporting me. So thank you, Glass, for being here. And I know that he's from your neck of the woods too, Solreta. Is either in Australia or New Zealand. I never get it straight.
Oh, that's cool. And I just want to say hi to Vicky and hi to Ben as well. I just see that they're watching too. And a lot of other familiar faces. I see Libby on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, was there anything else that you wanted to talk to? I've got a couple of more notes written here.
No,
as well.
Let's go through what you were guided to share, and if we have time after, we could take some questions, or if I think of something else, I'll bring it up. But I really want you to take the time you need to develop and to share with the audience here what you were guided to bring forward tonight.
Yeah, so I'm just grateful that that the stuff's not stuff I have to Google. Not words or songs that are just being played. So yeah, they just guided me to note down quantum field holographic, which is like, the world sort of being representative of the body. So we'll have many different things in holographic form, the microcosm to the macrocosm, foods that look like body parts that, help these different body parts. Quantum potential, they want it to go over a little bit. Source field, which is, the universe, collective consciousness is also connected to this conversation. And they wanted to talk about, like with psychics too, how they pick up on quantum field. We also pick up on quantum potentials. So that, I guess, when we look in terms of when we're looking into cards and we're looking into outcomes, we're tapping into that quantum field and looking at what could be a possible outcome situation. So then when say someone's looking at, they've got a fork in the road situation and they're looking at, do I go here? Do I go there? Or do I move to go to this area, or do I move to go here? So, those real questions that we weigh up. Right. So when I pick a card to represent the vibrational energy of either of those options, we're able to tap into that energy on a very quantum level. And that's why a lot of the time I won't look at the cards when I'm reading, because I want to pick up on that energy. I want to read straight from that source. And then when we flip the card over and have confirmation of this, it's so fascinating. So that's kind of like how I work, I guess, in a quantum way. But yeah, we can also, as people, as beings, pick up on what could be a potential quantum reality. So I also wanted to talk about this a little bit. So say if relationships are a very clear example. Sometimes when we meet someone, or if we say go for a job and we take on a new job, we might be picking up on quantum potentials, and there might be a myriad of quantum potentials. But we have to make sure that we're not looking at the person and their quantum potential. We need to look at the reality. We need to look at the facts and the data, and because they might not be tapped into this quantum potential. They might be existing from that old subset of pre-programming of what has always been, and they might not be aware of this other quantum potential that exists. Does that make sense when I talk about it from that way?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, this is the same, like with going for a job, there's going to be like a limitation. And yes, there might be like a quantum potential, and we can bring things into alignment to help step towards the staircase of reaching this quantum potential. But sometimes, if there's a closed door, we might need to look at perhaps like moving from that job or moving from that situation, because we might only get the closed door. So we can't force some things to happen. We can make ourselves line up with the best possible chance of having that quantum potential happen. But all we can do is really work with our own quantum reality, to work with our own programming, to work with our own, deleting of our own restrictive thinking, and really line and bring ourselves into alignment with that which we want to create. So it might be getting yourself into a new group of friends. I've got some beautiful friends that are quite awake into everything that we discuss on this channel, and especially onto some of the more patriotic themes. And, sometimes they find themselves surrounded by those that are anti that, or, living in a total different reality. And that's very hard when you're surrounded and weighed down by that daily. So we need to put ourselves and plant ourselves into situations that will not only energetically support us, but will energetically open us up into a larger quantum field.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And, part of that I'm trying to see how it ties into, you and I talked about this last week, the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and how you
Oh,
can pop into your avatars who are running concurrently in different versions of yourself and maybe grab the best things from one area, and the other area and encapsulate that here in this reality. Or maybe it's about you changing your frequency to the other reality. I'm not sure exactly what that.
Through the week. I went and did his meditation through the week after we were talking about it too. And what I was sort of picking up was it's a lot to do with alignment. So say if we're one string, we're one frequency vibrating. So this is where we look into like superstring theory, which, relates to everything that we're talking about. So if we look out that we're putting out a certain vibrational frequency, and when we're in attunement and we're bringing this through with the purity of who we are on a soul level, this becomes very magnetic. It becomes very attractive out into the world because you see someone living that soul vibration or that soul essence of who they are. Some reason they're just talking about that. But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. They took me on a different tangent. But what I'm trying to say is when we come into vibrational alignment with who we are on a soul level and we start to really vibrate and start to live who it is and what we are on this planet, and then we start to affect others around us because we're living our truth, we also then mirror to others that it's okay for them to live in their truth too. And that helps others to get into that alignment. Now, when we look into if there's something that we do want to manifest, say like in the Joe Vitale way of looking at things, or we want to live in that highest quantum potential of what source might have available or open to us, that's where we do need to, get rid of that old programming, get rid of the old mindset, but we need to start conditioning ourselves, just like we would condition ourselves if we were an athlete to running a marathon. We need to start going, what do we need to do to physically, mentally, and spiritually support us getting to that next stage and starting to step more into the vibrational alignment. So if we look at the vibration of who we were, say, for example, in primary school, or then again in high school, we go through this morphogenic type changes. And if we look at who we are amongst different groups. So I have a lot of different types of groups of friends. And when I've had them in situations at parties and that together, everyone's like, you have a really eclectic bunch of friends. Like you've got some that are very much into the mainstream side of things. Then you've got some that are like, very out there, what we would call trippers here in Australia, into all the stuff we're into, or, the woo-woo group. But
you call them trippers? Is that it?
Yeah, we call them trippers. So I guess would get called a tripper. It's like people that are into trippy reality and things like that. But so if we look at, who we surround ourselves with too, we want to make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people that are linked into the quantum potential. And this is why sometimes if you're stuck in a pattern or you're stuck in something, you need to go outside that source code of what your avatar has created already to tap into a different potential. So that's why it's really important to get, readings like I do, or to go and talk to a quantum hypnotherapist, or go even have counseling, or go take yourself on a walk to get outside of your own psychology, your own mindset, and start setting up healthy patterns. So looking at what is this version of myself, this higher quantum potential? How does this look? How does it feel? How does it smell? Really looking at like, how can we then start to build ourselves in order to fit that picture? So for example, you might see yourself as a successful, higher version of yourself. What is this person wearing? What does the home look like? And start to meditate and start to pull yourself, start to get entangled with this higher version of yourself. It might be that you see that person wear a particular outfit. Go out and buy yourself that outfit. Little things like this in order to tell that quantum field I'm stepping into this higher version of myself. And all of this that we're talking about today is breaking and shattering simulated reality on some level. And that's really where they wanted to guide me to work towards, is overriding programs. So really, I guess, limiting the amount of garbage that we take in and starting to put more output into the field rather than just input. We've just been fed so much. If we look at, I'm a child of the 80s. So, since the 80s, it's like input, we're not actually doing much output. If we look compared to like the grandparents and great grandparents that would have had a lot more mental space freed up.
Right. Well, a couple of things there. First of all, I think, how much time do you have left, Solreta? Because there are a few people asking questions.
I'm on Saturdays. I've got unlimited quantum time today.
Unlimited. Okay, I have another show after, so we'll try to get going here. I'll do a few things, and I'll try to get to some of the questions here. But first, on the subject at hand, I agree with you that when you become in an alignment with what it is your soul mission really is, and you've decluttered and you've maybe removed a lot of the pollution, that's when all the magic happens. That's when you see that person across the street who you're supposed to meet, because otherwise you won't see them. That's when, you go left and then suddenly, something amazing just happens in your life, or you get the fortunes that you're always waiting for. But when you're all polluted and reacting to everything, as you were saying, because you're taking all of this input, life is not the same. So I encourage you guys to do the work. Sometimes it's hard work, but the rewards are really, really grand.
Yeah.
Now, there's a question on the screen now. And first, Leanne was asking in the chat, hey, can we contribute to ask a question? You can just ask a question. If you want to contribute, that's great too. We always appreciate that. But please do ask your question, Leanne. We'll try to get you first here, as you're the first one to ask me. But Carl Steiner Stiller had a question here on the screen. Maybe 10 minutes ago, you were talking about some of these maybe missing parts in the quantum field. And he's asking, what about our shards? So do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because the person I was talking to last night has a missing shard as well. So perhaps your answer will help that person as well.
That actually came up for me in a session with a client yesterday. We were talking about, I guess, looking at the oversoul. So this would be me here on Earth. This would be me here in Pleiades or Sirius, or other different, I guess, realities. Looking at it from a multidimensional point of view. Now, what happens when we get more and more in alignment with our soul frequency and our soul vibration is that we start to get more of this energy from these other realities kind of bleed through, or like different quantum shards or different parts of our oversoul come in, and we can bring that into vibrational harmony and vibrational synchronicity in order to create not only a more tapped in intuition, but a greater potential in this reality. So we can use other different shards or different parts of ourselves to come into this reality. So I'm not sure if Carl's meaning shards in relation to that, but I do see the more that you'll have, like, I've had spontaneous different things. If I look back into, say, like early, or like around 2021, there was different almost awakenings that happened, in the sense of, I remember almost like a download, or what we would call like a walk-in type situation. So for example, my earliest memories only go back to 4. I don't remember anything before 4. It's almost as if like coming in and lights on, being here on Earth, in this human body. And then like more aspects of shards, or more aspects of who I am on a higher soul level. So this is me here on the Earth level. But when I work, with my readings and everything, I'm actually more tapping into my higher self, and I'm tapping into the part of me that exists outside of this third dimensional reality, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you connect maybe with a missing shard? What can you tell the audience at that level?
Yeah, so you can do different meditation, and you can actually, in that meditation, start to feel yourself coming into that vibrational alignment. You can use different things, because we're sovereign beings of light as well. So you can command all of these aspects of self to come back in the here and now. So what happens when we lose part of these aspects of self? That can be tied up in past life energies. That can be tied up to do with, past partners. That can be tied up to do with past situations. So when we've had deep trauma happen, or even sometimes like a little amount of trauma, we can sometimes leave behind an aspect of self. So if we're in meditation and we're calling all of these parts back to the here and now, it can actually be very transformative and very powerful.
Okay. So let me go back and find this question here from Leanne. Okay, I think this is what it is here. But she said earlier you answered me. I think I commented on her question is what she meant. We didn't answer her question yet. So is this her question? I'm just wondering if I'm truly a blue ray. Okay. I'm sorry if this is
Oh,
an appropriate
that's
question.
so
No,
sweet.
it's perfectly appropriate question. What are you talking about? Okay. Do you want to pull some cards on that? So, Rita, what do you think?
Yeah. Oh, I'm just getting downloads, so I'll just say what they're saying. So
Go
with the
ahead.
Blu-ray side of things, and I'm also Blu-ray. So for me, this is very connected to do with the anchoring of ascension energies and why, some of us do see this blue flame energy and do see that portal that manifested over Uluru. So a lot of the Blu-ray souls are working to do with the awakening of humanity and really starting to tap us into what our true potential is and trying to, I guess, go from one-dimensional reality, this lower physical dimension that we were really, really anchored in, pre-December 21st last year, and
Right.
the heaviness of what we've experienced for generations and generations. And the Blu-ray energies are walking us over this threshold into this higher energy and higher dimensional space. And if we look at it in terms of Schumann frequency, we're seeing the earth also mirror and mimic this frequency raising. So we're seeing it on a very physical level, which is cool. The Schumann resonance has also been going offline. It's been getting that high that we're seeing like total blackouts happen in the recording of what the Schumann resonance is doing, which is like the heartbeat of the earth. So yeah, in regards to the Blu-ray, it's connected to do with souls that really resonate with Pleiades, Sirius, also connected to do with, what am I missing? There's one I'm missing, Lyra, and also connected to do with beings from the inner earth. It's also connected with dolphins and other sentient type beings as well.
Okay. Very good. And of course, Glass Effects is saying, oh my, the Blu-ray question. We're all offended. Of course, we're not offended. So thank you, Glass Effects, for bringing some levity there. And Leanne says, hey, I love you guys. Thank you. All right. Let's go back to Carl. I think he had a subsequent question, but I think you answered him. I was wondering if there was a way I could reconstitute myself from my separated
we did talk about it a little. So there's various different ways. But if you're finding that you're getting like a limited response from doing it via just yourself, either look up for a meditation on Insight Timer or Spotify, YouTube, or even talk to someone, who works with these things specifically, like a hypnotherapist that works. Preferably the quantum hypnotherapist, the Dolores Cannon method, more deals with that kind of thing.
Okay, very good. And let me check the PayPal tip jar here. Gary, thank you so much. Jolanta, thank you so much. V.A. Dald, thank you. And what's she saying? Hi, Sorota. This is Vicky from last night.
Oh, hey, Vicky.
Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate that. And Adriano Liota, thank you so much. Hey, that's a great name. I love that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Solreta, as we start wrapping out the show here, is there anything else you wanted to share with the audience? Maybe words of wisdom or something that's coming up in the field now that you think is important to share?
Yeah, they've just left one little note for last, and it's on manifesting, which I know that like everyone's ears prick up and they're like, pen and paper in hand. So if you don't have a pen and paper in hand, it might be the time where you want to grab a pen and paper in hand. So in regards to manifesting, they're really talking about clearing out and looking at things. So you might want to just, I feel like a school teacher right now, the way that they're showing me, but it's like, like write the word blueprint. We want to look at working on our blueprint first. And what is it that we've plugged into this blueprint? What is it that we want to clear out of this blueprint? And what is it that we want to create? We might want to even, in meditation or visualization, create a whole new blueprint. This is where they're taking me back to the adenosine triphosphate and talking about the DNA and the RNA, and I'm seeing that little flame go on. So they're talking about it on a very cellular level about creating this blueprint. So in order to have more electrical conductivity and charge into creating this healthy quantum reality and not just being tangled up in what we're told that we should have or that we could have or, caught in these limitations and restrictions, we need to start looking at it from a clean slate point of view. So they're talking about clearing out blueprint. They're talking about like installing new updates. So we always want to be putting in positive, new, reinforced data. So how we're talking before about input, output, we want to make sure that we're feeding good, healthy input in. So whether this is like your affirmations, your meditation, knowledge, getting audiobooks that talk about what it is that you're wanting to create and going through one author after the other, filling this tank, filling this brain with these new programs. An audiobook is pretty close to downloading jiu-jitsu, like in the Matrix that we were talking about. So, you know, we need to put these new programs in. And then they've also, they're talking about programming the brain too. So there's different things. I think we might have touched on it possibly in the last show on simulated reality about programming the brain, but also looking at, there's different things that will make your brain's electrical signals run in a more cohesive manner. So things like drugs and alcohol, you know, other foods that are not necessarily good for the brain, that cause like a depletion of our chemistry and of our physical potential. We need to perhaps eliminate some of these, and we need to be doing exercise. We need to be doing, you know, different balancing, different coordination things in order to optimize our brain. So this is where it's really good to look into biohacking, good to look into, I guess, tapping into that unlimited human potential. So there's things like lion's mane mushroom that help put us in a different functioning state, a different mental acuity. If we're going to link that with meditation and link it with positive input of these, you know, audiobooks that are geared towards what it is that you're wanting to create in your life, these things all help. And then we've got, so they're talking about putting the new energy in, and then they were talking about then also having that outward action into this quantum field too. So then we need to start telling the quantum field, I am this person, or I do this thing that, you know, that's part of that, that higher plan, or part of that place of where you're trying to get to go to. So say, for example, you know, if you want to play golf, or if you want to be like a pro golfer, for example, first you need to, you know, be living and breathing that, you know, as much as you can. Like we see the pro golfers. I think there was I don't know why I'm talking about golf that is showing me golf. So there was a documentary on Netflix to do with children that are golfers. And there's some kids, no matter if it was like raining, they're like whack, 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 like bowl after bowl. You can see under the age of 10, these kids are going to be, you know, pro golfers. There's no doubt about it, because that output that they're putting into that field is that I'm a pro golfer. They're showing up. And that's what we have to do, is we have to show up in order to match that higher vibration of who we are creating, or what we want to create. So really look at how are you showing up in response to what you're trying to create in the world. So it's no good just sort of like visualizing and just meditating on it. We need to take action. And when we can do it, like Joe Vitale talks about, like inspired action as well, it's like we're getting this idea or inspiration from the universe. And with the charge electrically of how that falls in, we can use that charge to battery power us further forward. So it means things are going to unlock and manifest a lot quicker, rather than if we sort of went, yeah, I'll sit with that for 20 days, or I'll sit with that for a couple of months, see how I feel about it. No, take action now. Start to make this happen. So look at different parts of your life and where you can just, instead of, you know, letting that energy dwindle. Oh, I love that what JB's put up. That's so cute. Look at, okay, what can I do now in order to untangle myself from this old version of who I am, this old reality? And what can I do to step forward? So you want to be going not only into clearing, but make a step forward. So it's not like one step back, two steps forward, or, you know, vice versa. So that's kind of the way that they're showing you.
Every day you need to push that needle forward, even if it's just a millimeter, because the matrix of control is working every day to push the needle the other way so that it's in control. So staying neutral actually means you're going backwards. So yes, push the needle forward. So on manifestation, I had 2 points to make. One, it's about your energy source, depolluting, and two is from where you're manifesting. So let's attack the first one. If you're manifesting with this polluted energy, whether that's from your quantum entanglements, your food, your intake of energy, all of these things, your intentions, your frequency, you're going to be manifesting, of course, not to your highest good. You're always going to be missing the mark there. So doing the work to depollute yourself, as we talked about a little bit here at the beginning of the show, will increase your powers of manifestation. Now, the second part is a little bit more tricky. And if you go back to look at the work of Drumvalo Melchizedek, he was also talking about going away from manifesting the wants and the needs and the brain version of what you think your reality should be, and manifest from the heart. And he was specifically talking about the 0 point in the heart. And why he was saying that is that if you manifest anywhere else than from that 0 point in the heart, you are manifesting the duality, the good part that you want, and also the bad part, the exact counterpart. And eventually that counterpart comes up and kicks you in the ass in the world, right? So the true master is manifesting from that 0 point, whereas those of us who are still on that path are still manifesting in this duality. And I think this is what the stimulated reality really is all about. It's learning to supersede, or to what's the word I'm looking for? Transcend this duality matrix that we're in. So any last words on that? On the
So I'm so grateful that you mentioned that, because that was something I thought about through the week. There was a documentary that I saw. My guides just told me to type, you know how I said it's just been all like quantum reality stuff this week. They're like, go into Gaia and type in quantum reality. So I did, and it was connected also to do with some of the other work that I'm doing research-wise, to do with, the rocks and different things, and connected to do with the ancient artifacts. So some of it was tied in and connected with some of the Strong's work too. But what they were talking about in this documentary was what you were just talking about, going into that place of the heart. They were actually specifically talking about going in and tapping into Sacral Chakra, that there was a more electrical output, I think it was, when you go into Crown Chakra or you go into Sacral Chakra. And I thought that was very interesting. I'm not sure if I perhaps like zoned out when they went into the heart, but you would think they would cover the heart, because, or maybe they left that part out on purpose. But
well, in a lot of these teachings, they always give you a little bit, but then apparently the last key is for you to figure out. The sacral chakra is also relative, because that's where your battery source. When you talk about your Tian, it's right behind there. That's what I was thinking too. They're gonna talk about that for you to bring your attention to that battery, because once you put your attention there, you can realize, oh, my battery's weak. Hey, it's at 80%, it's at 70%. What do I do to bring it back up? So there's all these steps here in this learning curve. I love it. Melanie, what's her name? Melanie or Leanne earlier, she did send a PayPal tip jar, and I thanked her for it, but she says, yes, but you didn't answer my question. And so she was asking if she was the Blu-ray, but I think we both went on a tangent and really didn't answer her. So can we go back and answer her question? Okay. Yeah,
sure. Let me just pick a card to do with that.
All right. So let me bring her back up. Let me see here. Where were you, Leanne? Such yummy info. Okay, that's a good frequency. We'll take that one. All right.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So the interesting thing, what I'm seeing is a few different things. So I am seeing Blu-ray come in like on a heart level. So on the way that I guess that she presents herself or takes herself out into the world is very Blu-ray. But what I'm seeing is this golden star above, like resonating around the soul level. So if she wants to tap in and look into like what her aura looks like, I'm seeing this beautiful golden star that's at the top of what we would call like the Godhead, connected with the higher self. Then I see this beautiful streaming in of this very soft pink. It has sort of like it's like a rose pink. It's a really beautiful pink. It's kind of a medium tone, but has this softness, this kind of like, it's hard. It's like very, it's hard to describe, because when the colors come through, sometimes they're textural, because I get like a synesthesia blending of senses. This to me feels like this very soft, velvety pink. If you imagine falling asleep inside a little, in a rose like Thumbelina, that's the color and the texture and the energy of the pink that they're showing me. So you have this beautiful energy of where it's like people feel embraced by this, and that's part of what you bring through as sort of like an oversoul energy. And then I see on a heart level that expression comes out connected to do with Blu-ray. So you might find yourself aligning with things, a lot of Blu-ray souls are healers. They're ones that are bringing through higher knowledge and understanding. They're also, in a way, kind of like warrior spirit. They have this sense of justice and this sense of not wanting people to be trampled on, or not wanting, people to miss out on things too. So they're carrying us forward in terms of like this ascension process and wanting to get us over the threshold. So she does have that on a very heart level.
Wow.
So I hope it answers.
She says, "Wow, wow, wow! Touching to hear this.
Oh,
You're so
thank
beautiful.
you, Leanne.
Oh, you're beautiful, Leanne. Thank you so much, Leanne.
Yeah,
And thank you so much, everyone in the PayPal tip jar. And the last one here was Kenneth Smith, and he says, let me bring that up. Oop, see here. Hi, Solreta. Amazing reading from a few weeks ago. Love you all.
Oh, thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I really appreciate that. So, folks, if you want to have a reading with Solreta, you can do so here at solreta.com or solretapsychicreadings.com. And there, of course, you can also get a aura drawing. And so if you have never had that done for you before, maybe that's a first step in terms of being able to visualize some of the areas where you might need to work on, and also to understand maybe who is around you at this time to guide you through some of the transformations that we are going through now. So Solreta, talk about that very quickly here. What can they expect in a reading from you, and how are you approaching these sessions now as we're moving forward here in 2021?
Yeah, I just want to say a big shout out to my lovely friend Omar, who's coming up as Watchers Talk on here. I just did one of his amazing 3-day events called Forgery Unmasked. And I said to him, I feel really honored because he asked me to speak about food sciences. And so I did a lecture that was Food Sciences and Building the Psychic Brain. And I said, it's actually really lovely to be asked to do something, you know, not just connected to do with the psychic realm. And it's the same with you, JC. I love it that I get to talk about these subjects and talk about quantum reality and simulated reality and how this all relates into food science and into life on the physical, mental, and emotional planes. But yeah, in regards to talking about my readings and different things, if we're looking at it in relation to today's show, what we can do in a session is really look at what's happening in your quantum field and looking into quantum potentials. So we can look at choices, we can look at decisions, we can look at going down different paths, look at different people, different solutions and things too. So that's kind of how it relates a little bit. But I have half-hour sessions, 1-hour sessions, and just this year I've started doing the 2-hour sessions because a lot of people also like to integrate, okay, this is the information and how can I apply it to my life? And that's something that I really love to have my clients take home with them, because it's cool to know all of this information and to have like all of the psychic hits and that. But what we really want is the tools for transformation. So I love to give them guidance and advice from the cards and from spirit on how can we then take this forward on the journey with us, which is part of that quantum field and bringing yourself into higher vibrational alignment with your true potential.
Awesome. Well, if there's any indication from the people in the chat who've already had readings from you, you are top notch. You are one classy person. Everybody tells me, they send me messages, oh my God, Solreta's voice is so soothing. I had such a great time with that reading. So folks, give it a try. You'll be better for it. And of course, I wanted to know, we gave out a few readings. Have those occurred yet from the last show?
They're happening next week because we just had, because of Easter. So I had a little delay in my calendar. So I had a mini holiday, which was beautiful.
Well, good for you. We all deserve it. All right. Well, thank you so much, Solreta, for being on the show. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here tonight on this live interactive show. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe here, of course, on our new YouTube backup channel. And I guess we'll see you soon. Au revoir. I'm Jean-Claude at BeyondMystic.
Thank you, JC. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Solreta.